Hello, everyone. Welcome to this talk on mitigating privilege escalation in multi-tenant Argo CD. Myself, I'm Anand Francis. I'm a principal software engineer at Red Hat, and also a member at the Argo project, working on Argo CD and Argo rollouts, along with the Red Hat-owned projects like Argo CD Operator and GitOps Operator. So I'm excited and honored to be here. This is my first ArgoCon to be giving a presentation. So let's see what we have today. So first thing is, let's understand what a privilege escalation is. Then we'll have a look at what we mean by privilege escalation in Argo CD. Then we look at various multi-tenant security controls that we have in Argo CD and how we can tweak them to mitigate the privilege escalation issue. Then we look at the mitigation approaches. We have two approaches here. The first one is using Kyverno policies to mitigate the privilege escalation issues that arise out of misconfigurations in app projects. So this is a classic feature. I mean, like you can try it even on the latest or the older versions of Argo CD. And then we want to introduce a new feature, which is app sync with impersonation. This is a feature that we developed at Red Hat, and it's in an alpha state. So this is the feature that we are, this is the approach that we are recommending for the privilege escalation issue. Last, we'll look at the summary and the key takeaways. So let's understand what a privilege escalation is. The definition is adversaries having access, trying to get a higher level permissions on any system or network. So these adversaries, they have access, but they have less privileged access. And they try to elevate to a higher access. So that's how it's different from other cybersecurity attacks. So these are like authentic users who have less privilege, but they try to increase their privilege. So the common approaches that is being taken is they take advantage of the system weaknesses, misconfigurations in the system, and any security vulnerabilities that can enable them to happen. A common example is like the sudo access. For example, a user without a sudo access tries somehow to get a sudo access and becomes a root user. So I was trying to find an analogy like how we can explain this privilege escalation. So in the game of chess, there is a move called pawn promotion, wherein a pawn, if it moves towards the last row in a chess square, you have the option to promote it to any other piece. So you can eventually make it into a queen, which is the most powerful piece in the chessboard. So the least privileged pawn can become a most privileged queen piece. So this is something that I found that it could be an analogy for this privilege escalation. So next we can see what are the types. So there is a vertical privilege escalation. That's what we discussed now. Like there is a user with a low-level access, less privileged access, and it becomes a highly privileged access. The example is the pawn promotion. Next, we have the horizontal privilege escalation, whereas in a multi-tenant scenario, there could be a tenant admin for one tenant, and he tries to become the tenant admin of the another tenant. So this is like you have a house, but you have some secret door, and you move on to the next house. So this is the most common thing that we have in Argo CD and the multi-tenant use case. OK, now let's look at what are some of the multi-tenant security controls that we have in Argo CD. The first one is the RBAC. So Argo CD has two kinds of RBAC. One is the Argo CD's own RBAC. And then we have the underlying Kubernetes role-based access as well. Next, we have projects. So in Argo CD, app projects are the admin resources that kind of ensure like what a particular application can deploy where it can deploy, etc. So projects are a critical piece in the multi-tenant security. And then next we have the scope of the cluster. So Argo CD supports two kind of installations. One is the cluster scoped installation, wherein the Argo CD has full control on the entire cluster. And then there is a namespace scoped installation, wherein it can deploy resources only to a particular namespace. So let's understand how the privilege escalation problem in Argo CD. So first, we have, in the first layer, we have different Kubernetes servers. And then we have Kubernetes RBAC on top of that. Next, we have the Argo CD application controller service account, which has like highly privileged access across all these clusters, all the destination clusters. And on top of it, we have the Argo CD RBAC. And the users, these are Argo CD end users that we have. And the access privilege is controlled by the Argo CD RBAC as the first layer. And then it is going to the Argo CD application controller service account, which has highly privileged access. So when we have multiple tenants accessing the same cluster, it's a single service account that is used for the sync operation. So different tenants might need different permission levels. So if one tenant needs highly privileged access, like it needs additional resources to be deployed, then the same privilege is given to all the tenants. And this is like one of the drawbacks, like it doesn't support using different service accounts to the same cluster. So long story short, so there is only service account that the Argo CD application controller uses must have privileges that satisfies all the tenants. So one common way of preventing this privilege escalation is to have a properly configured Argo CD project. So let's see what an Argo CD project is. So it contains all the Git repositories that it can that it has access to. It has destination clusters and what resources it can deploy. Additionally, it could have roles also, like each project can define its own roles. So a properly configured app project will define the well-defined boundaries for each tenant. So if you configure the app project properly, you can avoid this privilege escalation. Another thing to note is we have a concept of global app project. So that can actually contain like some of the resources that can be blacklisted and a common configuration. So this is the use case that we are planning to demo. Like let's say that I'm developing an internal developer platform, wherein like there are multiple GitHub users, and I want to use the same cluster to be able to deploy to the multiple namespaces. So the first approach is the policy enforced app projects. So here we have Kyverno policies, and like there are some of policy examples, like these are the best practices. One is to avoid the default app project, and enforce all app projects to have a global app project, which contains all the blacklisting. And all tenants get an app project with access only to its tenant's namespace. So this is like the architecture. Like I have two namespaces. I'm using apps in any namespace, and I'm using Kyverno policies to enforce them. So coming back to the approach 2, which is the new feature that we have added. So in this feature, we allow impersonation to use different service accounts, so that each tenant uses a different service account and uses the Kubernetes RBAC to sync the resources. So how to use this feature? This feature is in alpha state and disabled by default. So you have to enable it using the Argo CD CM. And optionally, you have to enable the applications in any namespace so that each tenant will have its own namespace for creating the applications. And then the last section is the important one, which is a new section that we have added in the app project, wherein we have different different destination targets and the service account that is being used. So whatever permissions, RBAC permissions that is given for that service account will be used by the tenant. So this is how the approach 2 looks like. You can see the additional service account that is being added, role bindings and the service account for each tenant. So whenever the sync operation happens, the respective tenant's service account will be used for the sync operation. And that way you can avoid like the privilege escalation, like one service account being used for the other tenant. So I have a demo here. I don't know if I have time. OK. So we don't have time for the demo. So let's come to the what are the benefits that it can, this feature can bring in. So it can prevent privilege escalation. And there is a possibility of having multiple destination clusters with the same URL. So this has been a limitation in Argo CD. With this feature, that can be avoided. And there is a use case that is requiring to prevent accidental deletion of resources. So we plan to use this feature to implement that. This is still work in progress. So the feature documentation is available here, and the demo materials are available in this Git link. So key takeaways. So this is a powerful feature, app synchronization using impersonation. So this will help you to decouple the sync process between multiple tenants. It allows platform admins to follow the principle of least privileges so that each tenant will be given the privilege that exactly required for that tenant. It works directly with Kubernetes RBAC, so you don't have to sync the app projects for each tenant that matches with the required Kubernetes RBAC. And last, having Kyverno policies or OPA policy agents to enforce best practices that can greatly improve the security posture of Argo CD, whether you're taking approach 1 or approach 2. Sorry, I couldn't go with the demo. Probably we'll have the booth space tomorrow, and I can show the demo of that. Thank you.